Hi, I'm Jennifer Kendall, the founder of the Cutie Path, where we support women entrepreneurs to grow with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Whether you're tuning in from your home office or sneaking a quiet moment between clients, I am so glad you're here. Today, I want to explore a message that shows up again and again, not just in our lives, but in some of the most popular movies we love. It's the idea that the very parts of ourselves that we try to hide, those messy, imperfect, complicated parts, are often where our greatest power lies. And if movies keep reminding us of this truth, maybe it's because it's something we all need to hear and remember. Okay, confession time. I finally watched that wildly popular K-pop Demon Hunters anime movie. I know, I'm late to these things. But as I was watching the movie, something clicked for me. There's Rumi, this K-pop idol who literally hides the fact that she's half demon. She is so ashamed of this part of herself, convinced it somehow makes her broken and unworthy. But here's the twist. Her power, her voice, her strength as demon hunter, her ability to protect others, none of that becomes whole until she stops hiding and starts owning that truth. Owning the side of her that she has tried so hard to change and hide. That part was actually the secret to her power all along. And this theme shows up everywhere. Think about Turning Red. Poor May is mortified by her red panda side. It feels chaotic, embarrassing, and completely out of control. But when she accepts it, she discovers that her messy self brings joy, authenticity, and even strength to her family and friends. How many of us have felt like our emotions were too much and tried to hold them back instead of letting them be seen? Think about Frozen. Elsa spends years terrified that her ice powers make her dangerous. And the second she stops fighting them and lets them flow, she steps into being the leader and the protector that she was meant to be. And then there's Encanto, one of my favorites. Maribel feels like the odd one out because she doesn't have a magical gift. But as the movie progresses, she learns that her real strength comes from her heart, her ability to really see people, and her courage to bring her family back together. And here's what gets me. Her family members who do have the magic, they're actually falling apart under the pressure to be perfect all of the time, and where they're only ever seen for what they can do. Does that sound familiar? Because in business, we often feel like we're only valuable for what we achieve, what we deliver, what we produce, when really our deepest value is who we are. Then there's the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Evelyn is literally fighting with all the different versions of herself. When she finally stops trying to fix them all and just accepts the whole messy, chaotic package, she discovers her ability to love deeply and lead with compassion. What if instead of trying to fix all of those versions of ourselves, the ambitious ones, the tired ones, the insecure ones, we just simply love them all? Here's what all these stories are really saying. When we stop fighting our shadows and our imperfections, we don't just survive, we thrive. Here's what I know from working with incredible women entrepreneurs. We all have parts of ourselves that we keep locked away. Maybe it's that fear of failing spectacularly. Maybe it's money struggles we don't want anyone to know about. Maybe it's that nagging feeling that we are too much, too intense, too emotional, too loud. Or maybe it's the opposite, the fear that we're not enough, that we need to be perfect, deliver more, prove ourselves over and over just to earn our seat at the table. But just like in these movies, when we try to hide those parts that we're insecure about, our messy, imperfect parts, we cut ourselves off from our own voice, our own creativity, our strength. When we're finally saying, you know what? This is me. I'm still figuring things out, but I'm done hiding. That's when real leadership begins. That's when we stop performing and start connecting. And here's the beautiful thing. When we do this brave work of showing up authentically, we don't just free ourselves, we give everyone around us permission to do the same. Think of Elsa in Frozen. When she finally sings Let It Go and embraces who she is, it's not just about her. It opens the door for others to stop pretending too. Or May in Turning Red. Once she accepts her panda, suddenly her friends and family feel more freedom to show up honestly as themselves as well. And the same is true for us. Now, I'm not going to pretend that this is easy. Sharing your imperfections, letting people see your messy human self, that takes serious courage, especially in a world that rewards polish and perfection. But courage isn't about not being scared. It's about choosing to be real, even when your heart is pounding. When we're brave enough to say, I don't have it all figured out, or this is part of my story and I am still worthy. When we do that, we create safety for others. We shatter this impossible standard of perfection that so many of us are exhausting ourselves trying to meet. And suddenly, real connections become possible with clients, colleagues, and the people we love most. And I believe we desperately need more of us to step up and be beautifully, courageously imperfect. But let's go even deeper because it's not just about accepting ourselves, it's about learning to embrace the messiness, the imperfections, and the differences in others. I don't know if it's social media or just where we are culturally, but I feel like we've gotten meaner, more intolerant, more judgmental, less compassionate and patient with each other's imperfections, quirks, and most importantly, our differences. It's like we think that the only way to lift ourselves up is to tear someone else down. You just have to spend a little bit of time reading the comments in videos and chats to see what I'm talking about. But think about it. Our quirks, our flaws, our completely unique way of seeing the world, that's what makes us interesting. It's what makes us human. A world of polished perfection and sameness would be dull, lifeless, and disconnected. It's the cracks that let the light in. When we stop demanding perfection from others, our team, our clients, our families, even strangers on the internet, we open up space for real connection. We start seeing people for who they are and not just the carefully created version that they show the world. We actually start to have real conversations. And that's how we build communities where people can actually grow and support one another. What if instead of tearing each other down, we saw each other's quirks, we saw our flaws and our differences as invitations to listen more closely, to understand differently, to stretch, to grow. Some of the most incredible things I've ever learned have been through these deep conversations with people who aren't like myself or don't have the same beliefs as me. It opens me up and allows me to see the world differently. And that creates a growth. That's how we create communities that are resilient, innovative, and truly supportive. So before you click away, can we just take a deep breath together for a second? What's one part of yourself that you've been hiding because it feels too messy or not enough? What might shift if you decide to embrace that part as part of your story, your power, your uniqueness? And how might your relationships change if you not only accepted your imperfections, but also created space for others to fully show up as themselves, messy, imperfect, and most importantly, beautifully human? Here's what I want you to take away. Your imperfections are not flaws to fix. They're truths to embrace. I'm not saying let's not do the work. We all need to do the work on ourselves to heal some of the things that are causing us challenges and holding us back, we're going to constantly be growing and we're constantly going to want to do that work. But here and now, I want you to know that you're enough just as you are. Because when you own all those imperfections, that's when you step into your real power. You find your voice and you give others permission to shine in their wholeness. And that's where authentic leadership lives. So let's stop striving for perfection and start celebrating what's real. Because in the end, it's our quirks, it's our scars, whether you can see them or not. It's our messy humanity that makes us wonderfully interesting and beautifully connected. Thanks for spending time with me today. If something here resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story. Share a comment, connect with me on acutipath.ca, or join me on Instagram at acutipath. Together, I encourage us to build something different. Let's build a community that doesn't just tolerate imperfection, but celebrates it as the very thing that makes us powerful and the very thing that makes life rich, interesting, meaningful, and beautiful, and most importantly, wonderfully human.